Welcome to BookWorthy, where we talk about the heart behind the books your kids are reading. Today, we're talking with children's author Jennifer Jahn about her debut picture book, God's Wonderful Wide World. In this delightful exploration of God's creation, a sweet narwhal helps preschoolers discover 6 classes of animals while highlighting God's wonderful creativity. Welcome to BookWorthy, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. We've kind of been following each other for a few years now, and it's nice to kind of get a little bit of time with you. But before we get started, we have to do our random question of the week, which is, what does your perfect breakfast look like?
Oh, goodness. I've never been one for breakfast. It must include coffee. I'm not a fan of the sweet stuff. I'd say my favorite breakfast ever and I had a friend who went to Japan, and when he came back, he said what he ate every morning was rice and scrambled egg and with whatever seasoning and stuff it was. And I tried it out. And I was like, that is the breakfast for me. That is just perfect. So that's
interesting.
What
I know that I've never really thought about breakfast in another country, so that's really neat. I'm kind of on an avocado toast kick right now, so I love starting my morning with guacamole, basically.
That's true.
Never seen a sad person with a bowl of guacamole, right? So it's a good way to start. Well, Jennifer, why don't you tell us a little bit about your God's Wide Wonderful World?
So it will be coming out at the end of April. It will be a board book. It is my debut book. And yeah, it has the narwhal is really cute throughout. He's sort of kind of like the main character, I guess. And he has these different disguises. So you have to guess what he is. But it takes you through the 6 major classes of animals, which I'm going to mess it up, but it's invertebrates, which we call spineless creatures because invertebrates, sort of a big word. Invertebrates, mammals, fish, bugs, which are not my favorite, but I have to include them. Reptiles, amphibians. I think I got them all. Mammals, we split it up. So we put mammals as land and sea mammals. I think sea mammals are probably my favorite animals.
Very neat. I can kind of tell with a narwhal being your kind of main character through the story. What made you choose a narwhal?
I just love narwhals. I think they're really interesting. I know there are some people out there who are like, wait, narwhals are a real animal? It's like, they absolutely are. They're just really cute. I love the narwhal and jelly books. So I just figured he's unique enough where he's going to stand out on each spread, but also maybe have some littles wondering what is that animal? And you do learn about what a narwhal is.
I love that there seems to be this trend of, I don't know, the most unlikely animals becoming popular. Like it started with llamas and then it became sloths and axolotls and narwhals. They're kind of like this to look at God's beautiful creation. Let's take the weird one that nobody really would really think about, and let's put it center stage. I think that's fun to kind of explore new things with all of God's creation.
Yes.
Now, with this book, so you talk about the 6 different types of creatures, but what's kind of the theme that the narwhal is kind of discovering with each group of animals he comes across?
So the theme is just the wide array of animals that God has created. I mean, no two are alike. They're so, like you said, with the weird animals. I have an axolotl. Am I saying that right?
Axolotl, yeah.
Axolotl in the book. And then I tried to include just very different creatures. I mean, even though they have the similarities because they're all part of this type of class. And when you go, we live near the Ark, so we've been there quite a few times in Kentucky. And it's how God brought each kind of animal. So there's similarities, but they're all very different from each other. So as the narwhal goes through it, he sees that. But at the very end, I guess the climax of the story is that, yes, God created all these amazing animals and they're all very special. And you might have your favorite, but the best part of God's wide, wonderful world is his creation of us and just how we are not part of those classes of animals. We are a whole separate class. I mean, even more than just a separate class, right? I didn't get to go into it in the story because it is a board book, but in the parent connection, it'll have that why we are so special is because of the Imago Dei. And not just that we look different or have different talents and stuff like that, that separates us from the animals. It's that we are indwelt with the image of God.
I love that. I love how you're using a bit of science and a bit of faith to communicate an overall truth that we want all kids to kind of walk away with, that they are unique, they are special, they are loved for who they are and how they're made, even if it's different from every other person at their table at school or their Sunday school class, wherever their place is. And I love that message because it is so important to teach at such a young age, especially at preschool. I mean, we're talking board book, so
Yes.
they could be still cradling in your arms and reading this book to people. And so it's one of those, we want to know that. I think if we want to know we are valued and we are loved. And I think that knowing that about God and knowing that about his creation is a great way to know more about God's character too. Now, you kind of hinted at this a little bit, but if kids could walk away with one thing from your book, what would you want them to walk away with?
I think just to walk away with knowing a little bit more about who God is, not just so much like, yes, it's great at the end that they'll know that, oh, God created me and, I am special, but to know more about God and just the creativity that God has and that he is the creator and that none of this would exist without him. And so I hope that when they see the animals, like if they walk through the zoo or maybe they happen to see, maybe they have some of these animals because there are some some people have snakes in their house. I would never, but I would hope that it points them back to God and who he is. I think if we're coming away just knowing about us, I have missed the whole point. And so I hope that kids walk away or at least read it, crawl away, sleep away, whatever it may be, that they just know a little bit more about who God is.
That is so sweet. And it's kind of the heart of every parent is wanting our kids to know who God is and what God says about them. And I think that that's so sweet to introduce it in a fun and engaging way is talking about animals because every kid loves animals. You may not like the bugs or you might like the bugs. I've got kids that love to get nose to nose with spiders. And I'm like, okay. But it's one of those, like every child is different and every animal is different and what's going to interest our kids is different. And so to take what they innately become interested in and remind them about God is so sweet. Now, Jennifer, when did your writing journey begin?
I'd have to say, and not to be like corny or anything, but I have been writing since before I knew how to really spell anything. But I just remember my dad brought home, we had an Apple IIc computer he brought home, and basically all you could do was word process on it with the dot matrix printer. So that sound still makes my heart flutter. But yeah, that's when I was probably like 6 when he brought that thing home. And I've always enjoyed writing in all my classes. I grew up going to public school and I think just about every year I wrote a story about something for some assignment. And so I've just always written.
I love that, it's, just as God creates, he creates us with those individual gifts. And I think at least what I've tried to communicate to my kids is the conversation of what do I want to be or, what kind of job do I want to have is like, look at what comes natural to you. What are the gifts that God's given you that you just naturally fall into? And look at that. And is there a job that falls into that category? And, because you want to be able to enjoy both the gifts he's given us and use them for his glory in whatever job that they do. And so it's lots of fun. Now, why did you want to write this particular book for preschoolers rather than going the picture book kind of 4 to 8 route where you could go a little more scientific or a little bit bigger or more in depth? Why preschool?
Well, it was originally when we proposed it, it was, picture book or board book. And the publisher went with board book. So it wasn't. And when I look at it now and look at like the first like manuscript, like it was definitely geared towards more preschool than I thought it was. So, but that's why you have publishers and editors and agents because they can say, you're not completely on the right track, but you're close. So let our expertise help you out. And I trust them because I've never done this before. So they were correct.
It's nice when someone's advice points you in the right direction rather than the wrong direction.
Yes.
Now, since this is your first debut novel, or not novel, but picture book, what was that process like?
It's been, so I tell people when they're writing, because people kind of come to me with questions now, that it's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of waiting, being patient, being kind, writing those nice emails. Hey, where are we right now? And just trusting who has your book. Like I trust my literary agent. I trust the editor with the publisher. And I mean, they're in these positions. I am not in these positions for a reason. And so I just have to trust them and know that what will be, will be.
Yeah, and just one of those, like, overall, it's God's story, and what God wants to do with it, he's going to do it. And thankfully, he can place people in our paths to help us craft what's going to communicate his truth the best. And I love that element of publishing, that you get to be a part of a team working towards the same goal.
Yes.
Now, what is your favorite book, Jennifer?
It's my favorite book of all time. It's not a picture book, but it's Wuthering Heights. I got to read it. I took a British literature class at community college, and I was just like, oh my gosh, where have these been my whole life? And Wuthering Heights, it still gets to me. I love it. I absolutely love that book.
That's usually not one I hear when we have this conversation, but that's very interesting. What about Wuthering Heights kind of makes you come back to it again and again?
I think just, so obviously it's fiction, but it's realistic, like it's real people and all that, but there's like this fantasy element to it. And I just love all things British. I think if I could ask to be a subject of the crown when Queen Elizabeth was in charge, I probably would have said yes. I would love to visit the moors, and she just had this way of writing. I love the whole like Gothic romance writing movement, and it's just such a tiny world unto its own. I don't know. I get all caught up in it. I love it.
Well,
And it's
Charlotte,
just really good writing. Emily Bronte is amazing.
yeah, I mean, that's one thing that she did amazingly well, is weave both plot, setting, and characters all together. And so they're each their own entity, but they're each playing off of each other in very conflicting ways that make us
Yes.
want things to go a certain way or the other. And so I think that's kind of the reason why Bronte and Austen and Tolkien, why they are kind of the marks of classic literature, is because they did those things so well.
Yes. The emotion just reads off of all those parts, the setting, the characters. It's good.
And it gets very overwhelming as someone who is writing to be like, how I can't compare.
No.
How do I do that? How do I write even one sentence that is as powerful as those? So yes, it is hard to look at those books and be like, I'm a writer too. Well, Jennifer, what's been the most impactful book in your life other than the Bible?
Other than the Bible, yes. My husband and I were going over these questions. He's like, well, the Bible. I said, other than, gosh, more impactful. Gosh, I had an answer and now I don't remember what it was. There's so many. I'd have to say probably Kate DiCamillo and her, like Edward Tulane and The Tale of Despereaux. Those two books are like how probably like, I don't know, maybe motivate me to like, I want to write. Like anytime I read a really good book, I don't know, for some reason in my head, it's like, oh, I want to write. But to be able to write like a picture book fantasy, like an Edward Tulane or a Despereaux, would be amazing because they're so much shorter than those books. But to go on a journey and a tale like that would just, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be the one to do it, if that's what God wants for me or another picture book writer, but I would love to do something like that. But those are cool.
Most definitely. It's interesting. My son just finished doing the theater version of Edward Tulane, and it's not a book I'd ever read. And so I was like, well, I guess I should read this before my son is in it.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. But, Kate DiCamillo does an amazing job of speaking truths without forcing a particular viewpoint on someone. She communicates so beautifully, both through, the fantasy elements and just the heart of the characters and her stories. And I think that's why we keep coming back to her books and we love her dearly.
Yes, she's a classic with still being here, and the books are fairly not, I mean, they're not old, so.
No, it's very true. She wrote a lot of classics really quickly. Now, what is a book one of your kids are reading right now, Jennifer?
Oh, goodness. So much. So the three, so I have, they are 14, 12, 10, and 7. But the first three, I know the 7-year-old would love to. He's just not there yet with his reading level, but they're loving the Percy Jackson books. Just cannot stop with them. My son is reading faster. He's a 12-year-old than he's ever read before. And they all enjoy reading, but those, they're just like swimming through them.
They're very fast paced. I've had to go upstairs and turn off many of lights when my kids are reading. That was like, it is 9:30 at night. Go to sleep.
Sleep. Yes.
What's your 7-year-old reading right now?
He's reading, he's like, graphic novels are a big thing in our house. So he'll grab anything that looks like a graphic novel. Trying to think which one he's enjoyed the most so far. I shouldn't even know. I mean, he'll just grab any of them. But yeah, graphic novels are really his favorite. Anytime I get a book from like the Good Book Company or any of those picture books, like that, I read them first and they go straight to him.
And it's neat to see how Christian publishing is starting to welcome graphic novels a little bit more. It seemed to be kind of this dividing line between secular and Christian publishing. And it's neat to see Christian publishing starting to kind of reach those reluctant readers and those kids that struggle with longer form of books. So it's really neat. Now, what can we expect next from you, Jennifer?
I actually do have something next, which is still so crazy to be. I mean, the fact that I have one is crazy, but say 2 is like, wow, God is blowing my mind away. But I do have a second one. This will be a picture book, a nonfiction picture book. I'm in this like STEAM, the STEAM acronym, which I never in a million years did I think I would be part of that. It's a book about the stars, and it's also going to be published through B&H, and that will be in April of 2027. And this will be an actual picture book, and it's about how God created the stars, of course, and how they are used in Bible times, like throughout our Bible, but also like today. So God's creation is not just for way back when, but still working for us or still for us today.
Very neat. That I look forward to hearing more about that book. Where can people find out more about you and your books?
I have a website, and it's www.jbjahn. So Jahn is my last name, but it's spelled Jahn. So my husband always says is what you do when he preaches, you yawn. So there you go. So jbjahn.com. And then Instagram is probably where I'm most active. And that is Brianne Jahn. Brianne is my middle name.
We'll make sure to have those links in the show notes so people can find you easily and won't be looking for YAWN. Well, thank you, Jennifer, so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. And thank you for joining Jennifer and me on this episode of the BookWorthy podcast. Let us know in the comments, what does your perfect breakfast look like? And be sure to join the Middle Grade Madness over on Instagram as we get closer to choosing the number 1 middle grade novel. You can help decide and possibly win a whole host of prizes. Find out more in the show notes or on Instagram at BookWorthy_podcast. Happy reading!